Welcome back into the Michigan Unplugged. We told y'all we had a special guest for you guys today. I'm super excited about this guest because when I tell you this guy's made me a lot of money, this guy knows his sports, but he knows his bets even better. We got my boy Blake in the building coming to talk to us about a little segment that we're going to call the Unplugged Gambling. So, Blake, what's up, man? Introduce yourself to the people. Give us a little background about you, and let's get it started.
Yes, sir. Thank you, gentlemen, for hopping on here and let me hop on. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I've always said that I'm a 20-year-old guy. I've been watching Michigan my entire life. Born and raised in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, just north of Detroit. Whole family, super long line of guys going to Michigan. Ended up not going to Michigan, but that's a whole different ordeal. It's on my channel and things like that.
It'd be
But
like that. It'd be like that.
yeah, right. So, I guess technically speaking, a Walmart, but been going to Michigan games my entire life. First game was when I was about, I think, 8 or 9 months old, back in 2000. And yeah, I live in Buffalo right now for work. I go back and forth as many times as I can for the games. But in terms of the whole picking games and things like that, I've just been, I watched football as my brain formed. I couldn't really tell you, route trees or coverages, but I just got a pretty good feeling of the game, man. And I can tell you, like, I'll be like, hey, this guy's got it, this guy doesn't, things like that. And just spending a lot of free time watching games, researching things like that. Analytics kind of goes in hand with the game, and I like to joke I've got a good knowledge of football, a good mix of football knowledge and analytics that a lot of coaches in the NFL unfortunately have either one or the other. So, but yeah.
Facts, bro. You've been killing it. You have a keen sense or ear or eye to what Vegas is doing. I know last week I took some plays from you that definitely hit on the money. So let's kind of get into that and tell me what some early plays you're looking at this week.
Yeah, the first one is a little Friday night action. Help you start to roll the bankroll over. Stanford, Colorado. Obviously, don't really got to get into much with Dion out there, but I'll tell you right now, Stanford. I know a lot of people. If you're a Michigan Jim Harbaugh fan, you think of Stanford as this perennial powerhouse in the Pac-12. Unfortunately, that's been not been the case for a while. They fired Shaw last year. It's an ugly brand of football out there. They're really left in limbo. The fact that they're joining the ACC is quite interesting. Considering they're on the West Coast, but it's not really a serious football program. This is a really good opportunity for Dion to flex, and a lot of people, including myself, really thought that Dion was going to have a pretty rough time the first year. Struggling to get 3 wins, obviously already sitting easily at that now. It's a good opportunity for a standalone game to flex. I did fade Colorado last week because it was like, look, it's on Pac-12 Network. No one cares. You got a Friday night standalone game against a bad team, conference win at home. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be, packed with celebrities as it always is. And I think it's going to be a really good opportunity to flex. And we'll be sure to see Mr. Shador's watch all over the place. And I think that 10.5 should be an easy cover there. That's what I think.
He'll
Okay.
flex it to the 10 fans in the stands. So. Or is it in Colorado or is it in Stanford?
It's at home. It's at home. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So
okay. So yeah, he'll be flexing. He'll be
he
flexing.
got a bad rap last week, man. I know everyone went viral because he, was, the mighty and very ferocious Sun Devil fan base. They were, he was showing his watch again as he tends to do to them at the end of the game. But if you listen to them, they're chanting "overrated" all night, getting a little personal with the stuff. So hey, this shit can't take it. Unfortunately, the video that was going viral was like, oh, you beat Arizona State as a favorite, and you're flexing the crowd. Like, dude, listen, man, who cares, man? Let the kids be kids. What are we doing here? So
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay. Little
The next
Friday
one I
night
got
action.
up, yeah, the next one I got up is Michigan covering the 33.5.
Wow.
I know it's a lot of points, but with Harbaugh, we've kind of seen a totally different mentality and atmosphere. Obviously, everyone's getting a lot healthier in terms of the secondary on defense, things like that. And I think it's a good spot where we're going to be able to cycle in a lot of players at home. Finally, not a late game, so we can at least get the game out of the way and sit back with our feet up and watch everyone else. And Harbaugh, depending on the number you got, he is, I guess, technically 2-0-1 against the spread, winning the last two and pushing. And a lot of the doubters, and not even doubters, but just people that are a little bit skittish like myself, was like, okay, back-to-back road games with these crazy spreads. Michigan couldn't do anything early in the year. Really kind of put those hopes to bed. And unfortunately for our good friends over in Bloomington, Indiana is a very, very bad football team this year. I mean, their best two players are on our bench. I mean, like you saw Tuttle come in and Barnhart's really kind of turned on the Jets, and I think that those two are going to make a little bit of an impact as well, making some push there because I mean even our backups are getting super hungry. I mean you got Mullings coming in at running back 3, he's doing his thing. I mean everyone's getting on the board, and it's nice to see the depth of this team. I know it's been a bit of an issue at sometimes, but with the injuries coming back, it almost is a really good thing that these players were injured. Looking back on it, as crazy as it sounds, like Rodmore and Will Johnson being out, you got a lot more young guys getting legit game reps super early in their career. So now when they're coming in as backups, you're like, okay, these guys have game sense, because that's one thing that George has been doing in the last few years. Is you're like you just be guys you never heard of, and it's like how are they always running downhill full speed like human torpedoes? And it's like, well, they're cycling in 20, 30 guys a game on defense, so they're always fresh, always up to go. So, God forbid someone gets injured, the next guy up, it's like, it's no like deer in the headlights. You're like, okay, I'm ready to roll. It's time to put my name in here. And, I'm going to, earn my spot. And the guy that was an NFL draft pick is going to be fighting to get his spot back. So starting to see a little bit of that with Michigan. And I think it's going to be a good flex spot with Indiana. I mean, I know a lot of us probably were, we won't want to admit it, but we were watching the Indiana-Ohio State game and certain games like that earlier in the year. Indiana really can barely throw the ball forward. And if you're a one-dimensional offense, I mean, Minnesota can run the ball pretty well. And they had a few runs early, but quickly, we closed the door on that. So I think it's going to be a similar thing here. And Michigan's really it's going to be another pick your score game. If you want to run it up, you can. If you want to, try things out, sure. So I think that's a pretty good flex spot for Michigan as well.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this. What's your thoughts on the game out west, Oregon, Washington?
Yeah, so that's definitely the game of the week. I always try to have some sort of play in these games, and it's just such a hard game because to me it's super even offenses, but Oregon's got a really good trench game. I know we kind of saw it against Colorado. I'm assuming that's most people's, when they watched an Oregon game, it was to watch the Colorado game. And half the time you watched it, Shador would snap it, and there's 3 guys already in the backfield. I mean, like they got trenches. When you think of Pac-12, you think of, finesse offenses, things like that. And then they got Bo Nix under center. I guess technically shotgun, but you know what I mean. And he's got a lot of, experience, 2 very old quarterbacks. I think both are, 23 turning 24 in the draft era with him and Penix. And I think it's going to be a high scoring affair. I mean, the over is already set at 67, which is crazy for the running clock era. You look around here, you got a lot of these games in the 40s and 50s, and they're up at 67. I would probably lean the over in that game, as crazy as it is, because both teams need to move the ball to keep it going. And I think that Oregon's got good ability to, force turnovers, and I think they could be short field. I would lean Oregon, but my goodness, it's going to be a good game to watch, man. I'm telling you right now.
Okay, so we got 4 games. Your 3 locks. We got Colorado. You gave us Colorado. You gave us Friday night was
that's Colorado game.
And then we got the other guy. So one more game. Give me your early thoughts on Notre Dame, USC, and then I want to get your thoughts on Michigan outside of betting. Just your overall thoughts on what you expect to see for the Michigan-Indiana game.
Absolutely. So quickly talking about this one earlier today, I actually do like the under in this game. Now, when you think of a team like USC, like, okay, under, these guys play no defense. Well, Notre Dame, you could equally say, has no offense, and the offense that they do have runs the ball, and that's quickly, running the clock down, things like that. And USC has a tendency to go on very insanely quick 3 and outs. Like I'm talking under a minute. And I think that Notre Dame is sneaky, got an all right defense. I mean, obviously Caleb Williams is unbelievable, one of the best guys I've ever seen. And I think that Notre Dame is going to probably dominate time possession. And I think that USC is going to have to score. And they're starting to realize, it's finally taken them so long with Lincoln Riley in his career that you can't, with a bad defense already, you can't be doing 1-minute drives and leaving your defense to hang out to dry. And I think a bit of it too is Notre Dame has been on a gauntlet of a schedule. I hate Notre Dame. I'm sure everyone here hates Notre Dame as Michigan fans, but when you've played, what was it? You played NC State in like a noon game that was a tornado or a hurricane delayed game that ended at like 7:30. I remember the Michigan game we played at 3:30 and we were done before the noon game. It was crazy. And then they play Ohio State in an emotional, heartbreaking for them on the last second of the play. Get hurrying all week. They can't count to 10, things like that. It's really tough. Then they go out there and you play another game against Duke, ACC on the road, night game, emotional win again. You win on the last drive. It's crazy. Their quarterback goes down. It is what it is. And then you have another primetime game against Louisville at night under the elements. Louisville, a physical team, one of the easier schedules in the country, but they're running back Gerard Jordan. This guy is a physical bruiser. The type of guy where it's like, I really don't want to tackle him right now in the third or fourth quarter. And you can kind of see it as the game slipped away, but Notre Dame's got a crazy schedule. Oh, and now what do you have? You're going to go home, another nationally televised game against the Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, I almost feel bad for Notre Dame. Obviously, I don't. But if I were to feel bad, that'd be the case. Is they just have so many games. I have a feeling that everyone's just going to be tired. It's going to be an under game, and I'm sure it'll be I don't know, 28-31, something like that. I mean, that's still a lot of points with the over under being 62 with the run dominant offense and the team that happens to 3 and out very frequently. I think it's plenty of points that I hate to bet the under in a game like that, but it still have an instant classic feel.
Yeah, this stretch for Notre Dame has been absolutely insane when you're looking at
Crazy.
it from what Louisville is turning out to be, and obviously we know what USC is and we know what Ohio State is. I said it earlier in the recording, like if Notre Dame loses this game, I'm about to spend some nasty narratives about this Ohio State resume. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
We were all joking that, hey, watch in a few weeks when they're out of the rankings. I thought it could potentially happen, but I mean, they're already down at 21, and it would be tough to see them fall out of the rankings, just even if it's a close loss to USC, but I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I think that's like you said, as a Michigan fan, I wish both Notre Dame and Ohio State could have lost that game a couple weeks ago.
Absolutely.
But somebody had to lose it. So Blake, before we get out of here, give me your keys, give me your previews. What are you expecting to see Saturday versus Indiana? I know me and Giovanni talked about it earlier in the pod before you hopped on, but what is your keys to victory for Michigan?
Yeah, I think it's you got to always take everyone seriously. These guys are all Division I athletes, and they obviously have a tendency of looking past teams. I mean, not to bring up crazy games, but like Miami and Georgia Tech last week, you could tell they kind of were sleepwalking. I know it's a conference game, but even though they're in your conference, you still got to respect all the opponents. I mean, you can look at the Penn State Northwestern game, right? Everyone and their mother thought Northwestern was going to, or Penn State was going to cover. Obviously, they ended up covering, right, easily, but when you're losing multiple times in the first half and then tied at halftime against a team like Western, it's like that could happen. And people remember that. I know no one's going to remember the fact that they ended up winning by 20. If you ask me about that game, I'm like, oh, the game that they were tied at halftime against Northwestern, like, come on. Like, that's kind of the common things that stick in people's minds and more importantly, the playoff committee's minds. And, obviously I firmly believe Michigan's going 15-0 in the national championship. Been on record doing that for a long time, but in the crisis aversion mode of in case you, God forbid, lose to Ohio State or Penn State or someone along the way, killing people like you have been the past 2 weeks is be very important. So I think if you have a very business mindset there, you go in there, you get the job done, there should be no problem. I mean, JJ has shown insane maturity. I know we were all kind of watching the game together in the playback, and you saw him, call out the blitz and opt out of a run into a beautiful pass to Loveland for the end zone. And, you can see JJ now is pulling it on read options and he's running people over. And it's like, I'm seeing things I haven't seen from Michigan outside of black and white highlights. And it's pretty great to see. And you're now looking at all these things and it's like, okay, so what are the only things that you can really complain on? I would say, yes, you could probably say, Donovan Edwards kind of a lackluster performance so far. I mean, obviously he was banged up a ton last year and was, walking around on like one leg with one hand last year against TCU and Ohio State and was still doing what he was doing. And obviously it's a super competitive room. I mean, the guys are out there going crazy. You've got Cole Cabana came in as a crazy, highly rated freshman. You got Ben Hall doing his thing. Khalil Mullings, coming out of nowhere. It's great that he's kind of taken up that step as running back too. You got Marshall coming as a recruit next year. For Donovan Edwards, obviously it's not the best that he went from a potential first-round draft pick to right now maybe coming back. Obviously, as Michigan fans, it's great, but I think it's maybe almost like you can use a game like this to really try to give him some reps, some live reps, because I think that I was surprised he didn't get a few more reps against Minnesota at the end. I know they kind of pulled him quickly, which is very interesting because I was like, with the guy struggling, you already got a defense that you pretty much broke their spirit with all those like tough runs and throwing it all over them, doing whatever you wanted based on offense. I was like, why don't you get, let him eat? He's needs some carries, kind of get some game feel. Obviously, shortened off season with the surgery. I think that hopefully you can let him kind of get some of the ball and continue to grow on the last few games of last year that everyone kind of saw.
Yeah, I spoke on the episode that we did yesterday. That'll be out tomorrow. I spoke on that exact same thing. Is when you look at Donovan last year, he had a similar type of ascension, right? We didn't really hear about people were going off on Donovan Edwards because of the Penn State game, right? Then after the Penn State game, Blake gets hurt. He gets hurt. He doesn't really play in the Illinois game. And then he has 300 yards against Ohio State, 100 plus yards against Purdue, 100 plus yards against Tennessee, and that's his season. And I think the reason why people are nervous is because we expected him to pick up where he left off, and it looks like he's went back to how he was last season. So, like you said, for a Michigan fan, we're super excited if he goes to the league, but we're even more excited if he comes back. And
Absolutely.
that might be the best thing for him to be the lead back and not have to share as many carries with Blake next year. For me, I'm just want to see the same, like you said, workman business approach this week. I told Giovanni last week on the pod, I want to see my team continue to ascend every week. So then when I'm in November, I'm peaking, right? When I'm going into my hardest games, I'm playing the best football I played all season. I don't want to play the best football in August and September because then I'm burnt out. And by the time I get to November, people know who I am, what I can do, and they found ways to stop it. And so I'm my goal or my key is that they score 40 plus points from here on out. That's what I
Mhm.
want to see. That tells me that they're ready to come down where I'm at here in Houston and play in NRG Stadium for a national championship.
Absolutely.
That tells me that the team is ready to ascend and be on the same level as a Georgia or a Florida State or any of those other teams that have those high powered offense. So super excited about this weekend. It's another week. I want us to be healthy, of course. No injuries, guys. Let's try to get our guys out in the fourth quarter and get ready for a tough. I know it's gonna sound crazy, but I'm gonna keep saying it. A tough Michigan State team that we're gonna face next week because that's their Super Bowl. That's their
Mhm.
national championship next weekend in East Lansing. They are going to
Absolutely.
want to be able to say we knocked off Michigan from either A, making the playoffs and winning the national championship, or B, we stopped them from winning the Big Ten championship. So I want us to be healthy, go into that game next week, all guns are blazing, because then we got to get ready for November. Giovanni, what you got for Blake before he get out of here?
Um, like I said, we bring Blake on because he is a ball knower, man. He knows everything. He knows
Right.
more than me when it comes to this analytics stuff. He has a really good sixth sense when it comes to this betting stuff. So we trying to help you guys out by bringing him on, and obviously check out his YouTube channel. He has been doing
Thanks.
great things on there, not just football, but if you love NBA basketball or even college basketball, he does it all. So shout out to
NFL too.
Blake. Oh yeah, like NFL too, especially. So, especially with the football season, he's posting a lot. So please check out his channel. We guys get the chance, maybe subscribe if you haven't already.
Blake,
I just like to,
let them know where they can find you too on all the platforms.
Yeah, it's quite simple. I make it pretty easy for everyone. It's just at Blake Stackpoole. It's just my name, take the space out right here, and that's pretty much it, man. So I tend to be shadow banned on Twitter, so you might have to search. You'll probably search and see these guys before you'll see me. I'll see me replying to these guys, but that is what it is because you type in Blake Stackpoole and enter, it'll say nothing, but you just look at the results and I'll be in there somewhere. So it's a picture of me sailing. So that is what it is.
I
yeah, like
appreciate you coming through for us, giving us those bets. Look, we look forward to seeing you next week. I know the Michigan State thing is going to be awesome. We'll probably run a whole episode just with you in it for the Michigan State thing because I know you're going to have some thoughts. We're going to probably get Zach in here, do a little crossover. Maybe we can get all four of us up on the pod and kind of do a round table type thing for next week's episode. So super excited about that. And once again, appreciate you hopping on.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.